who have been waiting, and I postponed order to go live. I was also trying to figure out the internet issues because I've realized that in my previous live videos, I've been freezing and all those type of things. So I was trying to avoid that. Hopefully it behaves for today, because starting next week I'll try to make other alternatives. Um, so yeah, without rambling on too much, let me get to the fights. I'm going to be reading, but in a nice way. So the aim here is to make sure that you guys get the most out of these lives, and you don't just listen to me ramble on about nothing. Refer to something I wrote prior to going live, as opposed to just giving you my opinion, and I think this is helpful. So let's get to it. Let's get to it. Johnson versus Estevan. This fight is going to be close, largely because both are seemingly well-rounded, in my personal opinion. I think Johnson's biggest advantage will be his experience in the UFC. He is on a 5-fight win streak at this particular point. Um, or rather, no, that's my mistake. Sorry about that. Had 5 fights in the UFC, and even though he lost 3 of those, all of them were decisions against decent fighters like Mokaev, Osborne, and Durden. Estevan's biggest advantage will be his momentum. He is on an 11-fight win streak and is undefeated. I don't think he has fought that many experienced fighters, except maybe in his last contender series fight last year, and he finished that fight in 2 rounds. So I don't think experience will be that much of a problem for him. My biggest concern is that they are closely matched, but I picked Estevan because, unlike most undefeated prospects, being undefeated with a lot of decisions being undefeated with a lot of decision wins, the chances of him guessing out in the later rounds, like most prospects who are undefeated who come to the UFC, are very slim. It also means that he has had a lot of octagon time, which means he has had the opportunity to acquire a bit of experience, in the octagon. Even though he hasn't fought that many experienced fighters, I feel like having that many decisions means he spent a lot of time in the octagon, which then will translate into a lot more experience. That's why I'm leaning opposed to Johnson. But my subscribers picked Johnson, so I guess we'll just have to see who was right on this one. On to the next one. Ogden versus Mortar. This one, my problem is I don't feel like either fighter is that good. That's my personal opinion. But of the two, I think Ogden is the better fighter. I think Mortar is over Zalhuba is probably the best win of the two. Between the both and take Mortar down, I wouldn't be too concerned about him on the feet. But if he takes Mortar down, then the probabilities of Mortar being finished are significantly high. So I'm going to pick Ogden on this one. My subscribers also went with Ogden. On to the next one. Pudilova versus Perez. Yeah. Ooh. Pudilova losing a decision to Edwards is pretty impressive in my personal opinion, especially considering how good Edwards has looked in. On the other hand, Pudilova, on the other hand, she has only had 2 fights. She's only had 2 fights in the UFC, so it's not like she is a veteran with a lot of UFC. Not faced a lot of experienced fighters. It's probably 2 at most each, which makes this a seemingly very close fight. However, I think Perez is the better striker, a better grappler. On top of that, she has a higher finishing probability than Pudilova. Some sort of an advantage, because even if she cannot finish the fight, I feel like able to control the fight throughout the whole. And I feel like um, Perez will win this fight. My subscribers also went with Perez on this particular one. On to the next one, Jeka versus Lucas Alexander. Uh, here's the thing about this. Choose Alexander purely because he's had like two fights. Um, I think he has incredible takedown defense. So, which is going to be really, really, really interesting because I feel like the fight is going to be closely contested. Both fighters, I think, are on 7 fight win streaks, but I think Parkin is not. A lot of fights are like that on this particular card, and that's why I'm trying my best to not just read from the head, but to also um, refer to something that to the research I actually did before. My subscribers also went with Parkin, but in my personal opinion, this is going to be a coin flip. I wouldn't give any of either fighter a significant either fighter a significant experience or an advantage over the other. Christian Leroy Duncan versus Dennis Tilly Duncan versus Dennis Tilly Lewin. I don't know if I pronounced that properly. Um, Here's the thing about this particular fight. Dennis is coming in on short notice. Dennis has been losing a lot of his fights. I think he's had 4 fights in the UFC and has only won one. I think Christian Leroy is the better striker, and since both of them are not really grapplers, I don't see this fight going to the ground, and because of that, I think Leroy wins this fight, especially because Dennis came in on short notice, and even if he didn't come in on short notice, I feel like Leroy was still going to win this fight. But I think this is going to make it a lot easier for him, in my personal opinion. Um, on to the next one, Jose. I think Jose wins this one. Before I move on to the other one, the fight was changed between Dennis and Leroy, so my subscribers couldn't have the opportunity to actually choose or pick who they think is going to win. So, yeah, Chad versus Jose. I think Jose wins this one because I think he is better everywhere. So wherever this fight goes, I think Jose is going to win. Is going to dominate, in my personal opinion. I don't see anything from Chad that might make me feel like he will have any sort of advantage in any position, unless he somehow gets on top of Jose, of which is something I also doubt because I think Johnson is very, very defensively good on the feet and on the ground. So that's why I feel like, irrespective of where this fight goes, win this one. My subscribers also picked Jose. On to the next one, Pierce versus Brito. Um, this is another one of my unpopular picks, but my subscribers went with Brito. I went with Pierce, and here's why. I feel like Pierce is slightly better on the feet, number one. Number two, I feel like he's beaten a little bit better competition, or rather, he's faced a lot more tougher competition. And I know people will say, well, he's beaten, what do you call him? He's beaten Diego Lopez, and which is a solid win, but I feel like it was a while ago. Okay, fine. I was going to mention the fact that Pierce also beat Christian Rodriguez, and I think people have seen how incredible that kid has been. You know, he derailed 2 incredible prospects in Raul Rosas Jr. and Cameron Simon, I think. yeah, from my country. So being able to derail two prospects who were undefeated is an incredible feat, in my personal opinion. So Christian Rodriguez is a special fighter, and I think his only loss is to Jonathan Pierce. So that says a lot about how good Jonathan Pierce is, in my personal opinion. So cool. A lot of people will say, well, I mean, Brito also beat Lopez, like I said previously. Sure, but he went on to lose his debut against Algio. And I feel like even though he's faced the decent competition, I don't think Brito has faced like tough competition. If you look at the kind of people that Jonathan Pierce has beaten so far, I think Pierce has beaten a lot better competition than Brito. And Pierce, I think, is on a 5 fight win streak. I think Brito is on a 3 fight win streak. Yeah, so for me personally, I feel like the fight will be close, and because of that, I'm going to lean more towards experience instead of just picking someone for the hell of it. So, okay, it's not for the hell of it. I'm sure it's largely because of hype, but I'm leaning more towards Jonathan Pierce than Joe Anderson Brito, which I said my subscribers picked Joe Anderson Brito. I went with Jonathan Pierce. On to the next one, Medic versus Orolbi, I think. This fight, I just found out this fight was changed today, but for some reason, Orolbi is already the favorite to win this particular fight, which is interesting because Merrick is also an incredible fighter, an incredible finisher, and he's had a full camp. So for anyone to pick Orolbi, it's not crazy, but I think both of them are really good fighters. They are both finishers. In fact, Medic has 100% finishing rate. So, and Orobi doesn't. I think both of them are decent on the feet and on the ground. Actually, not decent, good on the feet and on the ground. So I'm not particularly sure how Orobai, I think Orobai or something like that, is the favorite when he's coming in on short notice. Is the guy that good? I haven't seen enough from him to be able to overlook the experience that the Medic has had. And on top of that, the short notice experience, or rather the short notice preparation, I feel like gives Medic the advantage. Because otherwise, if maybe Orolbai was coming in on a full camp, I would have I would have made a better. Who's calling me? Who's this particular person? I think Orobai would have made. Sorry about that. Someone was calling me for some reason. Um, so for that reason, I'm going to go with Medic instead of Orobai. But I wouldn't be surprised if Orobai somehow manages to get an upset, because in my opinion, these people are very well matched. So yeah, it could go either way. So it's up to you to decide who you think is going to win at this point. So yeah, I'm going to go with Medic. My subscribers, the fight since the fight changed, my subscribers didn't have the opportunity to decide who to pick. So yeah, but initially they had picked Medic. I don't know if they would have picked Medic in this particular situation after the fight was changed. On to the next one, Pinheiro versus Ribas. Um, initially I had picked Pinheiro, but after a closer analysis, I decided to go with Ribas. I feel like Ribas is the better striker, and she's slightly better on the ground, I think. Even though Pinheiro is on a 9 fight win streak, the only solid win that, in my personal opinion, that she has, yeah, I think the UFC also probably wants Ribas to win this fight. And the only solid win that Pinheiro has is I think Michelle Watterson, and number one, that was a decision. Number two, Michelle Watterson is almost 40 years old. So that's not a good look, in my personal opinion. So yeah, she couldn't finish an almost 40 Michelle Watterson. So, and when you look at Pinheiro's record, a lot of the fights that, the streak, the 9 fight win streak that she's on, a lot of it she acquired outside of the UFC. In the UFC, she's not fought anyone that great that would make me feel like, oh, okay, she's beating decent fighters. But I'm one of the people who believes in improvement and a fighter's ability to improve. But at this point, I don't know. I'm going to lean more towards Rebus. My subscribers also picked Rebus to win. On to the next one. I think here it's pretty clear what it's Peyton versus Nick. I think it's pretty clear to see what each fighter needs to do in order to be successful in this particular fight. Peyton needs to keep it on the feet, and then Nick needs to get it on the ground. The problem with that is that Peyton is not very easy to take down. So which means that the probability is the fight will probably stay standing. And if that happens, I can almost guarantee that Nick is going to get knocked out because Peyton is really, really good in my personal opinion on the feet. I still feel like he needs to improve, but against Nick, I think he's going to do really well. So for that reason, I'm going to pick Peyton. My subscribers also went with Peyton. Hopper versus, or is it Hooper versus Levitt? I'm not particularly sure what people are seeing from what do you call him, Hooper, or is it Hopper, for them to actually think he's going to win this particular fight. Because when you look at Levitt's experience, when you look at the people that he's fought, when you look at the people that he's beaten versus anything that Hooper has done, I don't feel like I would pick Hooper at any point to beat Levitt, in my personal opinion. Yeah, like it's. I understand. I understand. I don't really understand why people are really picking Hooper to win this particular fight, but I guess that's how they feel. According to their own analysis, I guess we'll just have to wait and see who is actually right about this particular fight. But my subscribers went with Hooper. I just think Levitt is a little bit more experienced. I just think Levitt is better on the feet, and I think he's better on the ground. So I'm going with Levitt. That's all I can say. Morales versus Matthews. I think this fight might be closer than a lot of people think. I think it's going to be significantly close, largely because both fighters are strong in different areas. Yeah, and Team Couture is like a really legit team. It's like a really good team to train under. So I guess people can doubt it, but I think Levitt is going to win that fight. So with Morales and Matthews, right? I think Morales has the advantage on the ground, and I think Matthews has the advantage on the feet. So I guess because of the 15 fight win streak and the fact that he's undefeated, and on top of that, I feel like Morales has beaten better competition. If you look at Morales' record in the UFC, in my personal opinion, I feel like he's beaten better competition collectively. I know that Matthews, I think he has a win over Jing Lian or something like that, but I think it was a long time ago. Most recently, I feel like Morales has a better record than Matthews. Matthews' path to victory is on the feet, but he's horrible. Like his takedown defense is horrible. So I don't think he's going to get the opportunity to actually execute his plan or his strategy or his game plan because he's not good at staying on the feet. You know, he's more than willing to go to the ground, and that's not a good thing when you're fighting someone like Morales. So the best thing Morales can do for himself, I think, is to take what do you call him, Matthews down. Because if it doesn't take him down, it might be a problem for him. If he can't take Matthews down, I could see an upset happening because, like I was saying, I feel like Matthews is better on the feet than Morales. So, despite all of that, I feel like Morales is more likely to win this particular fight. So I went with Morales. My subscribers also went with Morales. On to the next one, Allen versus Craig. Uh, the thing here is Paul Craig is deceptively good, right? When you look at the numbers, you'll automatically think, okay, Allen is going to win. That's what I thought in his last fight, right? I was like, no way Craig wins this fight. This guy is better on the feet, this guy is better on the ground. Statistically, if you look at the numbers, sorry, if you look at the numbers, statistically, I forgot the guy's name. That his previous opponent should have won that particular fight, but somehow Craig found a way to submit that guy. So for me, it scares me, but I think people have started to notice or rather realize and respect what Craig can do on the ground, which then will make it more likely that most people will plan to stay on the feet. And I feel like Brandon Allen is a little bit better than most people defensively in order to avoid any grappling situations that might get him in trouble. Because I think the problem with his last opponent, with Craig's last opponent, was that he was more than willing to engage with Craig on the ground when that was a massive mistake. You know, he shouldn't have tried to engage with that guy on the ground. So in this particular situation, I think Allen will be smart enough to know that he will not win that particular fight if it stays on the ground. So I think he's defensively good enough to be able to avoid being taken down, and even if he's taken down, I don't think he's going to engage in that, which I think will result in a stand-up fight, which might lead to one, a knockout, or two, a decision, which is more likely. Because of how dangerous Craig is, Allen might be very careful as to how he fights, what do you call it? And because of his carefulness, it might lead to, most likely, Allen is going to lose this fight. Yeah, I think I'm done with the breakdown. Tweezy, thank you. You've always, been there. I appreciate you, man. Even everyone who watches the lives afterwards, it's not like I don't appreciate you guys. I appreciate you, but it's always fun to have you guys live and be able to interact with you through the comments and all those type of things. So it's not because I'm shouting out Tweezy, it doesn't mean I don't appreciate all of you. But thank you for watching, even if you watched a few hours or days. See you Monday when I react. See, I sent you a message. You said you wanted to add me on Tapology. I sent you a message on the comments on the comment section. So check that out. Yeah, or send me an email and then we can take it from there. Otherwise, yeah. See you next week Monday. Ciao.